Right now, Florida's under siege by an army of silent killers, giant pythons that can overpower alligators with a terrifying squeeze, venomous fish that turn reefs into graveyards in a blink, and aggressive ants that can take down animals tens of thousands of times their size. Which of these invaders is the most dangerous? You're about to find out. Let's start with an invader that appears harmless but causes millions of dollars in structural damage every year. Green iguanas, once sold as pets, have become one of Florida's most destructive invasive species. Adults reach up to 6 feet long, live for 20 years, and dig extensive burrows into seawalls, canal banks, levees, and building foundations. These tunnels weaken infrastructure and cause collapses that cost homeowners tens of thousands of dollars to repair. The invasion, fueled by the pet trade, has escalated in South Florida, where iguanas are devastating both native plants and landscaped areas. Females lay 20 to 70 eggs annually, and hatchlings mature in just 2 years before reproducing. This rapid cycle drives exponential population growth that overwhelms removal programs. The risks go beyond property damage. Iguana droppings contain salmonella, which can sicken humans and pets. Waste is often left in swimming pools, on porches and in yards, turning family spaces into potential health hazards. Cold snaps bring temporary relief when temperatures dip below 4 degrees C, paralyzing iguanas and causing them to fall from trees, but most recover when it warms. Despite their harmless appearance while basking on fences or seawalls, green iguanas are undermining neighborhoods, spreading disease and straining control efforts, making them a costly and persistent threat to Florida's environment and infrastructure. Now let's talk about an invader that proves size doesn't matter when it comes to destruction. Red imported fire ants are tiny invaders with an outsized impact. Accidentally introduced from South America through Mobile, Alabama, in the 1930s, they now infest more than 360 million acres across the southeastern United States. Their venomous stings send thousands of people to hospitals each year, and in severe cases can trigger fatal allergic reactions. Colonies often contain multiple queens and hundreds of thousands of workers, functioning like superorganisms with military efficiency. Disturbances trigger mass relocation, making eradication nearly impossible. This cooperative strategy lets fire ants outcompete native species, while agricultural losses reach billions of dollars annually as they damage crops, attack livestock, and destroy equipment. Their rock-hard mounds break harvesting machinery and pose serious risks to farm workers, who may suffer hundreds of stings within seconds. The ecological toll is equally severe. Fire ants attack ground-nesting birds, reptiles, and small mammals, collapsing local food webs. In cities, they infest lawns, parks, and playgrounds, making outdoor spaces hazardous, particularly for children. With their aggressive spread, painful stings, and lasting ecological damage, red imported fire ants remain one of the most destructive invasive species in the United States. The Burmese python is one of the most devastating invasive species in U.S. history. Native to Southeast Asia, these snakes entered Florida through the exotic pet trade, with released animals establishing a thriving population in the Everglades. Adults can exceed 20 feet in length and weigh over 200 pounds, making them apex predators in a habitat unprepared for their arrival. Their hunting power is unmatched by native wildlife defenses. Pythons kill by ambush, coiling around prey until it suffocates. Victims include deer, alligators, wading birds, and endangered species such as the key Largo woodrat. In some areas, mammal populations have collapsed by more than 90%, with raccoons, bobcats, and opossums nearly disappearing. Wildlife managers attempt control through removal programs, hunting events, and trained detection dogs, but eradication remains out of reach. Females can lay up to 100 eggs at a time, producing hundreds of offspring in a lifetime and fueling rapid expansion. The ecological fallout is profound. By eliminating small mammals, pythons disrupt food webs, depriving birds of prey and halting natural seed dispersal. These cascading effects are reshaping the Everglades ecosystem, with the Burmese python at the center of a slow-moving ecological disaster. Now we move to an enemy so small you might not even notice it, but one that has brought Florida's citrus industry to its knees. The Asian citrus psyllid is a tiny insect behind one of Florida's greatest agricultural crises, It spreads citrus greening disease, a bacterial infection that blocks nutrient flow, yellows leaves, kills branches, and eventually kills the tree. Infected trees produce bitter, misshapen fruit that cannot be sold, wiping out the livelihoods of citrus growers. Once infected, there is no cure. Every tree is doomed. The psyllid reproduces rapidly, with females laying hundreds of eggs during their lifetime. Each feeding spreads the bacteria, and the insects can fly miles, infecting new groves faster than protective measures can be deployed. Backyard citrus trees also harbor the pest, making containment nearly impossible. The economic impact has been catastrophic. Before greening, Florida's citrus industry generated more than $9 billion annually. Since the disease spread statewide, production has fallen by over 70%, forcing family farms out of business and eliminating thousands of jobs. Entire communities once sustained by citrus have been devastated. Research into resistant tree varieties and management methods continues, but progress is slow while the psyllid population expands, leaving Florida's citrus groves, once a symbol of abundance, in critical decline. Lionfish, native to the Indo-Pacific, have become one of the most destructive marine invasions in history. Released through the aquarium trade, they now dominate reefs across Florida, the Caribbean, and the Atlantic, where native predators lack defenses against their venomous spines. Lionfish are relentless hunters, consuming vast numbers of juvenile reef fish that sustain coral ecosystems. In some areas, they reduce native fish populations by up to 90%. By removing herbivorous fish that graze algae, they indirectly smother corals, transforming vibrant reefs into degraded habitats. Their reproductive capacity fuels the invasion. Females spawn year-round in warm waters, releasing 30,000 to 40,000 eggs every few days. With ocean currents spreading larvae, a single female can produce over 2 million eggs annually, overwhelming removal efforts. The ecological damage carries severe economic costs. Florida's fishing and dive tourism industries face billions in potential losses as reefs lose biodiversity. Control relies on spear fishing, organized culls, and promoting lionfish as a seafood option, but reproduction outpaces removal, leaving lionfish entrenched as a major threat to Atlantic and Caribbean reefs. And before we continue unfolding this fascinating discovery, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any future episodes. Don't forget to share it with your friends too. It helps the channel out, and I'm excited to continue bringing you more awesome content. Here's an invader that brings the nightmare directly into your home. The Cuban tree frog, introduced to Florida in the 1920s, has become a serious threat to both ecosystems and people. These large amphibians grow over 5 inches long and secrete skin toxins that irritate human eyes and skin and can sicken pets that attempt to eat them. Cuban tree frogs devastate native wildlife by outcompeting and preying on smaller frogs, lizards, snakes, and insects. Their presence has caused sharp declines in native amphibians, while their appetite for insects also reduces food available to other species. The invasion extends into urban areas. Tree frogs frequently hide in electrical equipment, where their bodies can short-circuit transformers and cause costly power outages that affect entire neighborhoods. Pets face particular risk. Dogs and cats poisoned by attempting to consume these frogs often require emergency veterinary treatment. Eradication is extremely difficult. Cuban tree frogs climb, hide in hard-to-reach places, and reproduce rapidly. Females lay hundreds of eggs multiple times a year in any standing water, from ponds to bird baths. Their adaptability and explosive breeding make them nearly impossible to remove once established, leaving Florida with yet another invasive species reshaping both nature and daily life. Now we encounter an invader so destructive that Florida has mounted multiple multi-million-dollar military-style campaigns to eliminate it. The giant African land snail ranks among Florida's most destructive invasive species. Growing up to 8 inches long and living nearly a decade, each snail can lay thousands of eggs over its lifetime, fueling explosive population growth. These snails devastate agriculture by feeding on more than 500 plant species, stripping crops and natural vegetation alike. They also attack structures, consuming calcium from stucco and plaster to build their shells, leaving homeowners with costly, uninsured damage. the threat extends to human health. Giant African land snails carry the rat lungworm parasite, which can cause eosinophilic meningitis in people. Simply handling the snails or contacting their slime may expose children and adults to this potentially fatal infection. Florida has battled them repeatedly. The first Miami outbreak in 1966 took nearly a decade to eradicate. A second infestation in Miami-Dade from 2011 to 2021 cost over $20 million. More recently, new outbreaks in Pasco County in 2022 and Broward County in 2023 forced quarantines and pesticide treatments, underscoring the snail's ability to re-emerge despite decades of control efforts. The blue tilapia, native to North Africa and the Middle East, has become one of Florida's most destructive freshwater invaders. Introduced in the 1960s for aquaculture and vegetation control, they quickly escaped into lakes, rivers, and canals, where their reproductive strategy and aggression outcompete native fish. Males dig large circular nests in shallow water and defend them fiercely, excluding species like largemouth bass and bluegill from key breeding sites. Females produce thousands of eggs several times per year, and parental care ensures unusually high survival rates. This combination allows tilapia to dominate spawning grounds, effectively shutting native fish out during critical reproductive periods. The ecological impact goes beyond competition. Dense tilapia populations strip aquatic vegetation and alter nutrient cycles, degrading water clarity and creating conditions that favor other invasives over natives. Their ability to thrive in warm, low-oxygen water gives them further advantage, while climate change expands their suitable habitat. Control efforts have failed. Commercial harvest cannot keep pace with reproduction, and limited market demand reduces incentives to target them. As a result, blue tilapia remain entrenched across Florida's freshwater systems, reshaping ecosystems beneath the surface. Meet one of Florida's most toxic invaders, a poisonous amphibian that turns every predator encounter into a potential death sentence. The cane toad, introduced to Florida in the 1930s to 40s for agricultural pest control, has become one of the state's most harmful invasive species. Established from the Keys to north of Tampa Bay, populations thrive in yards, canals, golf courses, and farmland, spreading faster than control efforts can keep up. Their most dangerous weapon is a potent toxin secreted from parotid glands. The poison can kill pets, wildlife, and predators that attempt to eat them. Dogs and cats often die within minutes of mouthing cane toads, and even alligators have been found dead after ingestion. Eggs and tadpoles are also toxic, contaminating breeding sites and endangering native amphibians. Cane toads compete aggressively with native species for food and habitat, while poisoning the environment around them. Their reproductive output makes them nearly impossible to control. Females lay up to 30,000 eggs in a single clutch and can breed multiple times each year, with tadpoles already toxic from birth. Because of their rapid reproduction, adaptability to human landscapes, and severe threat to pets and biodiversity, Florida wildlife managers promote aggressive, year-round removal on private land as a necessary measure to protect ecosystems and public safety. Have you or someone you know ever had a frightening encounter with cane toads in Florida, especially involving pets or backyard spaces? Let us know in the comments below. Now we encounter an invasive reptile so dangerous that it's been classified as prohibited by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. The Argentine black and white tegu, introduced through the pet trade, is now one of Florida's most damaging invasive reptiles. Since the early 2000s, breeding populations have spread across at least 35 counties, with strongholds in Miami-Dade, Hillsborough, Charlotte, and St. Lucie. Highly adaptable omnivores, tegus eat fruits, small animals, and carrion, but their greatest ecological threat is raiding nests of ground-nesting species. They consume eggs of gopher tortoises, alligators, sea turtles, and native birds, devastating reproduction for species already under pressure. A single tegu can destroy dozens of nests in a season. Females lay 20 to 35 eggs per clutch, enabling rapid population growth. Tegus thrive in suburban, agricultural, and natural habitats, and they brumate underground during cool months, avoiding traps and re-emerging in spring to continue spreading. Their expansion into Georgia highlights their growing range as warming conditions make new areas suitable. Tegus threaten multi-million-dollar conservation projects by undermining recovery efforts for threatened and endangered wildlife. The seriousness of the invasion has led state and federal agencies, including FWC, UFIFAS, Everglades SISMA, and USFWs, to coordinate intensive trapping, monitoring, and public education campaigns. Feral hogs are among Florida's most destructive invasive species, causing millions of dollars in agricultural and ecological damage every year. Descended from domestic pigs and Eurasian wild boar, they now number in the millions across the state. Their rooting behavior devastates landscapes as they dig for roots, grubs, and crops, tearing up acres overnight and creating craters that invite invasive plants. Wetlands suffer when hogs churn through shallow water and banks, uprooting vegetation that filters water and prevents erosion, leading to long-term hydrologic damage. Feral hogs also prey on wildlife, raiding nests of ground-nesting birds, turtles, and even sea turtles. On nesting beaches, they systematically patrol for eggs, wiping out decades of conservation work in a single season. Reproduction fuels their spread. Females produce up to 12 piglets twice a year, with young breeding in just 6 months. Populations grow exponentially, and hunters would need to remove 70% annually to halt expansion, a rate far beyond current control efforts. The threat extends to agriculture and livestock health. Hogs break fences, contaminate feed, and spread diseases such as pseudorabies and swine brucellosis. Intelligent and adaptable, they quickly learn to avoid traps and hunting, often shifting to nocturnal behavior. Their resilience makes them one of the most difficult and costly invasive species to manage in Florida. Now we encounter an alien creature that seems like something from science fiction but poses very real threats to Florida's freshwater ecosystems. The Asian swamp eel, native to Southeast Asia, has become a persistent invader in Florida's wetlands and canals. These serpentine fish breathe air, allowing them to survive in stagnant, oxygen-poor waters where native fish cannot live. They can also cross short stretches of wet ground during rains, enabling them to colonize new waterways and evade traditional containment methods. Swamp eels are aggressive generalist predators, feeding on fish, frogs, crayfish, insects, and other invertebrates. Their broad diet and efficient hunting disrupt food webs and contribute to declines in native species. Burrowing behavior causes further ecological damage, undermining canal banks and shorelines, increasing erosion, and providing drought refuges that allow eels to persist when native fish die off. Detection is difficult. They spend daylight hidden in burrows or dense vegetation and emerge mainly at night, meaning infestations often go unnoticed until populations are well established. In addition to ecological harm, swamp eels can carry parasites and pathogens from their native range and accumulate pollutants in their tissues, creating risks for both wildlife and human health. The Nutria, a large semi-aquatic rodent native to South America, was introduced to Florida through the fur trade and has become a destructive wetland invader. With orange teeth and webbed feet, these rodents consume aquatic plants so aggressively that they strip marshes bare, erasing the vegetation that stabilizes soils and supports native wildlife. Once plant communities collapse, wetlands lose their ability to filter water and resist erosion. Nutria burrows add further damage. Their tunnels undermine levees, canals, and roadbeds, weakening flood control systems and causing costly repairs. Infrastructure failures during storms or floods pose risks not only to ecosystems but also to surrounding communities. Their reproduction makes control difficult. Females can breed at just a few months old, producing multiple litters annually with several offspring each. With few natural predators in Florida, populations expand unchecked once established. Nutria also pose health concerns. They can carry parasites and diseases such as leptospirosis, contaminating water used by wildlife, livestock, and people. By combining ecological destruction, infrastructure damage, and public health risks, Nutria have become one of Florida's most problematic wetland invaders. These 13 invasive species represent more than just individual threats. They're part of a coordinated assault on Florida's natural heritage that's happening right now, every single day. From the microscopic Asian citrus psyllid that's destroying billion-dollar agricultural industries to the massive Burmese pythons that are rewriting the rules of Everglades ecology, each of these invaders proves that size doesn't determine impact when it comes to ecological destruction. If you found this as shocking as I did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up to help spread awareness about Florida's invasive species crisis. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos about environmental threats and conservation efforts. And most importantly, leave a comment below telling me which of these invasive species surprised you the most. I read every comment and love hearing your thoughts about these ecological disasters. Thanks for watching, and remember, the fight against invasive species is a fight for Florida's future. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.